Welcome to the final week of social media and sports marketing. My name is Kristen Zimmerman, and I've been your instructor this month. And finally, this week, we're going to see why everything was done and look at the results and look at the information that you would present to your team or to your boss or to your people interested in your brand and sponsorships. You're also going to look at sales and customer service usage with social media marketing and how to use social media for these purposes. All right. So first I want to discuss ROI. I want to look at standard ROI versus social media ROI because they are two completely different things. When most of you look at what is standard ROI, you look at the expectation of return based on the initial investment. So you would take the initial investment, the gain from the investment, subtract the initial investment, and divide by that initial investment number again to get a unique number to help you see how successful your events are being based on monetary numbers. This is very easy to calculate, something that's standard, consistent, and something that you can track over time, again, by doing the same type of calculation. So if you were to calculate typical ROI in this scenario, and you made $1,000 on the event, and you initially spent $100 on the event, you would take $1,000, subtract $100, and then divide by that initial investment amount, 100, and get the ROI of 9. And so 9 would be a number that you could compare your future campaigns against and previous campaigns to see how successful this event was. This is the exact definition in a video that talks about ROI, so I'm going to play it really quick.
More businesses than ever are devoting an increasing amount of resources to social media marketing. But how do companies know if these efforts are effective? Almost 3/4 of chief marketing officers believe their social media efforts will generate hard ROI this year. And almost all of them are starting to look beyond sales goals and web metrics to identify social media's value. Social media is now used to achieve business objectives by 76% of companies, and 64% of marketers are integrating social media into their strategies. CMOs are using a variety of metrics to measure their social media marketing activities. More than half of them pay close attention to the number of positive customer mentions, fans, and page contributors, and nearly half track the number of page views, impressions, customer posts, and brand mentions. Over the long term, social media prompts significant drops in marketing costs. Nearly 3/4 of marketers close new business with the aid of social media, and more than half realized gains in search engine ranking when investing a minimum of 6 hours per week. Current experiences reveal the platforms that deliver the most significant ROI. CMOs say Facebook is the most valuable platform, while ratings and reviews, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube were also ranked as delivering significant ROI. More companies plan on increasing their presence on YouTube than any other platform. Still, a comparable number of businesses plan to increase their presence on Facebook, blogs, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Because every business has different objectives, ROI will be different for everyone. Before adding social media to any marketing campaign, companies should clearly define their objectives. In addition to identifying your objectives, Forrester recommends 4 factors to consider: the impact to your bottom line, your brand, your ability to manage your reputation, and your digital assets. By defining the goals and metrics that are right for your social media campaign, you'll be able to measure your results and ultimately determine your return on investment.
So this video hit the nail right on the head. It talks about objectives and your metrics. and determining both of these to figure out what your ROI of social media is. Because the ROI of social media is going to be different depending on your individual goals and the goals of the campaign. And so this is why it was so important that we figured out what your objectives were, your broad objectives, your SMART objectives, figuring out the metrics that can be measured so that now, once you've completed a campaign or you're running a campaign, you can monitor those metrics, you can evaluate them at the end of a campaign, and you can make decisions based on that information. And you can figure out what factors maybe led to increase in sales, or what factors led to more followers, or more fans, or more people attending an event. And so it's unique, and that's why it's completely indifferent. ROI in regular marketing stands for return on investment. The ROI of social media marketing stands for the return on influence. So again, it's not based on finance, it's based on the social influence, the impact you have, the influence you have over your fans and followers, because they will make decisions based on how much they trust your brand, how close of a follower they are, how loyal they are to you as a fan. So, as I mentioned, and I put right here, what is the best way to measure the ROI of social media? Is there one single way? Again, to review, there is not. There is not one single way. There are multiple ways to do it. And that's why, you have to look at what's best for your brand and what metrics are going to help you reach your broad objective. So looking at what are metrics then? What do you define metrics as? Metrics are the numbers or the elements that you can measure within a social media campaign. The measurable points, whether it's fans, followers, entry rate, all the numbers that you're tabulating through analytics software. All these little secret agent numbers that are running in the background, stuff that you're getting from Google Analytics, from Simply Measured, from Hootsuite, from Twitter Analytics, Facebook Insights, Pinterest Analytics. All these numbers are helping giving you data. And some of them are campaign specific, and other ones are just valuable data that maybe you can learn information and get trends about. Maybe your goal was engagement, but you're still looking at numbers and you still have data that you can maybe base other information off of in the future based off your trends that maybe applies to brand awareness or geographical locations or things like that. So, what is a KPI then? If, metrics are things that measure everything. A KPI, as I listed here, is a key performance indicator. And a key performance indicator is a specific metric that you're measuring for an goal or an objective. So if your objective is brand awareness, you might specifically be monitoring friends, followers, shares, how many people are seeing your message. So you want to use specific indicators for that campaign, and these would all be part of your SMART goals. All right, so again, metrics versus KPIs. Going back to that. Metrics, again, are the wide spread of, data that you're getting, all the different factors, and KPIs are specific to your objectives and your SMART goals, the actual numbers that you will be monitoring for that campaign, or the elements, I should say, that you're monitoring for that campaign. All right, so there are 3 components of a KPI that you might want to look at measuring and factors that you want to think about when you're determining the KPIs for your campaign. There are volume KPIs and metrics, engagement KPIs and metrics, and conversion KPIs and metrics. And in your reading this month, or your course library, there's a video that goes over each one of these in detail. So for volume, These are numbers that are going to, again, measure volume numbers. Your friends, your followers. It's a measure of reach times frequency, tweets per minute. Again, volume numbers. So they're not, specific to interactions, but it's more the big numbers that are, tangible that maybe look more impressive, but they're not necessarily numbers that show who you're, how often people, well, those kind of show how often, but I guess how well they're communicating and how often that they are interacting with your brand, sharing stuff with your brand, how loyal they are. It's not showing that type of stuff. It's just more big numbers, impressive type numbers. Engagement, these are really important because they build trust and they help build that loyalty and they help get that fan who comes back, over and over again. Not just that one time visitor who's checking out your brand. Those might be part of your volume metrics, but engagement are really people that you can count on. They're a little step further in the process, in the fan process. So you might want to look at people who are interacting and retweeting your content, putting it out there to more followers. People who are actually subscribing because they want to get alerts and updates about when you're posting content so that they can interact with it or read it or take part of it and spend time, quality time with your brand. They're not just someone who likes your page, they're actually someone who spends time with your page. Likes, how many people are, liking your content, liking a post, again, interacting with it, commenting, taking the time to be part of the message, how long they're spending on your page, and even, or, multiple pages or your site as a whole, and how many times they're sharing your content with other people and engaging in your content. Engagement is more than just how we look at the objective of engagement, but, it's that actual time spent and the quality time with your organization. The other type of metrics that you want to look at including are conversion metrics. Now, these are all going to relate to the sales process, your website activity. Maybe they're showing you how many people actually took action based on everything else that you've done and gone through the sales funnel, whether they've completed it or not. It's showing all this different data. Maybe, landing page conversions, click-throughs, leads, everything like that. Think about a lot of that Google Analytics type data, and that will kind of help you formulate, the conversion metrics a little bit more. All right, so to measure return on influence in a normal setting for your, not just your campaigns, but metrics that you should follow for your brand on a daily basis, you might want to look at combining them all. So looking at like page views, which are your volume times, your visits and plus time spent, your engagement. These are all cold metrics. I'm sorry, page views. I meant looking at, conversion rate, visits, volume, and engagement. So all three of those metrics, talking about them and putting them under cold, old school type metrics that are very easily measurable. Clear numbers. Plus, looking at all the other things about how people feel about your brand. Think about the warm and fuzzy metrics, your sentiment, whether it's positive comments, negative comments, neutral comments, and looking at that because it can help you figure out how to change your messaging or what changes you need to make, and how, everything is interacting together. All right. So now that we looked at metrics and KPIs and ROI, and how to measure everything, I want to talk a little bit about how social media works in terms of customer service. And there are two topics that we're going to talk about: technical and service support and reputation management. For technical and service support, think about the benefits of it and how people communicate today, because you want to communicate in the way that your audience communicates. And people like to go to social media. It's where people leave reviews. It's where they leave comments. It's how they like to contact people. It's easy. It's quick. It fits into your daily schedule. You're not stuck on a phone waiting for a phone call. And you have it in writing, and people like that. It's quick and easy. It's extremely important. You also get mass exposure. Think about if you have 100 people rating you with the same question and you're able to reply on one platform, reaching them all, how much more beneficial it's going to be, and how much of a time saver it's going to be, and how people feel that personal, close connection when they have someone specific and not just a random person or the brand itself replying back to them. You can make it personable. You can make it feel connected. Think about when you've written a brand and they've written back to you right away and they help you solve your issues, provide you links, get other feedback. Social media allows for that type of collaboration and maybe even other fans to chime in. It's also used for reputation management. A lot of people misuse social media. Think about all the athletes that you see all these negative news stories, or something happens out there and their publicist is able to easily and quickly jump on the story first before everyone else. It helps you respond proactively and it helps you deal with bad publicity. So, one of the things it does is it allows you to monitor your online presence. I don't know if you guys have used Google Alerts, but you can actually set up search terms that if they come into the news or in the media, it will actually alert you. And so it might be good to do this if you are representing a team or certain players and having or your CEOs. And so you are, abreast to everything that's in the media so you can quickly respond to it. You can also do searches on platforms like Twitter using hashtags or keywords, and you can use this almost on every type of social media platform. In addition, especially if you're a larger organization, you might want to use a paid tracking tool that tracks it on every platform. Number one, it's going to save you a lot of time. And number two, it's going to put it right there and create reports for you so you can get that sentiment, of how people are feeling about your brand and your online presence. And so you can take action and figure out where you need to take action. All right. Also, handling bad publicity was another thing I talked about. So, when you have a brand that is public, or you are, have a celebrity maybe that you're representing, you want to have a plan on how you plan to handle publicity, good or bad. If you have a whole team of people, who's going to post stuff? Maybe, that person's out. Who is the backup person? When do you post things? When don't you post things? When do you let it slide? When do you answer? And what stance are you going to take? Other things you want to think about is, and by the way, having a plan keeps you organized and allows you to jump on the situation fast, and it allows you to appear organized and have a plan so that people aren't questioning you as you're trying to figure out what to do. You also want to be short and to the point. You don't want people to be able to pick your message apart. So you want to put the data that's needed, not be lengthy, and just get what needs to be out there, and make your statement and be done. And that's why a lot of people do take on publicists, because they help create that message, and why a lot of social media people report to publicists and PR reps as well. You want to be quick to the message and not let it get out there and people talking about your brand negatively. You want to make sure that you guys are the first one putting the message out there and that you are on top of it. You also want to come across as impromptu, but not unprofessional. So you don't want to look like you have a script that you're reading from. You want to personalize the message and personalize it to the situation. Maybe you have guidelines, but you also want to make it come off as warm, genuine, and really authentic. You also want your response to be in the right medium. Maybe Twitter isn't the right place. Maybe there's a huge crisis. So you sit there and say, we have a message from our CEO on our blog, on our website, and people can go there to read it. You don't necessarily put the message, just throw it out on social media and abbreviate things. You want to think about how you're putting it out there, when you're putting it out there. Look at the Target crisis that happened in 2013. When they, had a lot of credit card information that was leaked. They right away stopped their holiday messaging. They were quick to do it while they researched and figure out what they were going to do. They put updates saying, where messaging could be found, which was on their website. And they kept everything extremely professional because they knew it was a crisis and they had the CEO talking to you, not Spot the dog, who's their mascot. So you want to think about that when you're handling bad publicity. In this situation that I have posted, this was a situation with Kevin Smith had with Southwest Airlines. He got on an airplane. While Kevin Smith is a little larger, he's not so large that he needs two seats. But when he sat down on the plane, it was something that was, very pop culture-ish or I mean, big in the media that everyone was needing two seats. And it was something that, airlines were enforcing a lot more around that time. So they kicked him off an airplane. Well, Kevin Smith had a huge, huge, huge Twitter following at this time. And as a result, he put a post out there explaining what happened to him. And you can see that right here. It says, I know I'm fat, but was the captain really justified in throwing me off a flight for which I was already seated? Well, the fans were enraged. People were enraged against Southwest. It made media. Even though Southwest did come back and they responded appropriately. They wrote to him and said, please follow us so we can direct message you, because at the time, that was the only way that they could direct message him and take it off public forum. And then they even respond to the fans saying, we are trying to contact him. Please know we're handling this accordingly. And they even take note and say that, they've read all the tweets from him that night because he kept going in a rage, and from the fans, and that they're going to have their customer service or their VP, calling him to handle the situation. And you have to make sure that you're on top of it and you have a plan and you know how you're handling it, because it could have been handled a lot worse. All right, so that's what we're going to be discussing this week, and some of the things I want you to talk about. I also want you guys to look at the sales funnel as described in your reading, and make sure that you guys review that information and review the videos that were in the course library for the week. For your discussion board this week, I want you guys to understand sales and customer service and ROI. So what I did is give you a partial case study, and I want you to review the case study, and I want you to talk about which specific social media tools, not random tools, but social media tools you would use to help you increase sales, improve customer service, and measure ROI. And Twitter, for example, is not the tool that you would measure ROI, but it would be their Twitter analytics platform. And why, if you chose that one, would you choose it based off of the tools you're using to increase sales and improve customer service? How could it measure your goals and your objectives? I want you to look at it as a scenario. If you had a campaign to run, which ones would you use and why, and how would you place it all together? And how would you be able to explain your results based off of that? Because if you're telling me that you're using Google Analytics, but you're to measure everything, but your campaign is based off of increasing sales using Twitter and Facebook, that doesn't really show me how it's measurable unless you're showing me incoming traffic to your blog from social platforms, and that's part of your plan. So you have two case studies you can choose from. You're going to choose one. Both are not related to sports at all, because I want you to think outside the box and think about different customers. And how do you relate to those different customers when it's not a customer base or target audience that you're necessarily comfortable with, or that you're used to dealing with? Because sometimes you'll have sponsors that don't fit your typical mold. And so you're going to have to come up with ideas and be creative. And then for your assignment 4, I want you guys to understand how to measure the results of a social media campaign, specifically the campaign you just ran that you planned in week 3. So you have two options. The one is that you're allowed to write a paper, and the second one is that you can do a video presentation. If you do the paper option, it's expected to be in APA format and, completely written and within the sections that I provide for you. And the sections should have headings, and you should have a cover page. I'm looking at this information. How are you writing things? How are you sourcing your information? And are you doing that in correct format? And how are you including graphs or charts if you need to do that? So it should be following, again, the given sections that you are provided with within your assignments. Taking us through your brand, giving us the background information on your brand, telling us about your objectives for your plan, describing your plan, giving us your outcomes, your trends, your successes, your failures, and finishing it up with how would you make changes if you were to do it differently? Are you going to do this campaign again? What would you adjust based on that information? And that's what I want you to look at when you're looking at your reflection. On top of it, I want you to then take your data and your information and create an interesting infographic. It should not be text heavy. It should use images. It should explain to us. It should read from top to bottom. It should have your branding information, telling us your objective, and really be based around your campaign. We should be able to visually see the results and visually tell us a story. And this is where you're going to get a lot of your creativity points. Make sure that you're looking at your rubric to see what you really need to include. The other option, on the other hand, is to do a presentation. And it should really reflect your brand image. It should have your imagery in there for your brand. It should take us again through your background image, in your background of your brand. Again, your objectives. It's going to do the same whole process. Your campaign, your outcomes, your results, and what you would change. Use imagery. Use graphs. Use different elements from your results. Show us what happened. If you use a quiz, or you use some type of prize, or you had different blog posts that you were talking about in referencing, include screenshots in them. Engage your audience and make us want to listen to this, and make us want to understand the whole premise of your campaign and from beginning to end. Also, make sure that all data that you use is exported from the platform. Some of them you might have to do screenshots if they don't have a way to export them, and then create a PDF and combine all of your analytical data into one document, one PDF document. There are tutorials of how to do this on the class blog, and I believe I included links within the assignments as well. And so that's really what you're going to do. You're going to be wrapping up this assignment and explaining how everything progressed throughout the month. So, the one option, there is 2 submissions, and the other option, there are 3 submissions. So make sure you go through and that you follow every single detail. All right, guys, if you need to contact me to go over anything, please feel free to. Otherwise, have a great week, and I look forward to watching your presentations as you wrap up your brand, and good luck next month as you progress into events and entertainment. Have a great day.